if the timer's not running, then we do damage and we start the timer. If it is running, then we don't do anything. Is stopped. There we go. That's what I want to do. Okay. So we can say if the damage timer is stopped, then we hit the player. Right? Because that means we're hitting the player for the first time. Otherwise, and then what we do is we start the damage timer. If identify damage isn't declared. Oh yeah, I misspelled that. Okay. Oh my god, really? Alright, so if the damage timer is stopped, then we consider it a hit. Otherwise, we start the timer. And let me just make sure that this timer is like a one-shot. Yeah, it should be a one-shot. One-shot kind of guy. Alright, and then in fact, I think that's it. That's it. We can just say if the damage timer is not stopped, return early. Right? Early return. Otherwise, just do that. Because essentially what that's going to do is that's going to start the countdown timer. Or is it? So I guess what that's going to do is like the first time we hit the player, it's going to trigger this. However, I think we're also going to need to look at this damage timer again. And when it finishes, we need to do another check, right? So let's connect our timeout here to ourselves. And we'll handle it with on damage timer timeout. Okay, and let's implement this handler down the bottom here. And we won't take any arguments for this particular handler. So now we need to look at our beam end and say what? Let's have a look at our Area 2D documentation. So I mean, we could just keep track of the body entered and exited. So I think what I want to do here is get overlapping bodies. So we're going to store those there, and we can say if the bodies dot length is greater than 0, then early return. Otherwise, for body in bodies, do a body dot hit with a laser, and we're repeating that constant, so let's extract that up here and say laser hit type is equal to laser, and I probably should be using an enum for this. Okay, what are you complaining about? Unexpected indentation. Well, VS Studio is to blame for that. Okay, so we're going to loop over the bodies that are still overlapping. So basically, when a body touches the laser, and remember we're masking out everything that isn't a player. Okay, so we're only ever going to get players in this scenario. So everything that isn't a player, they are going to be processed here. We're going to filter anything out, so we can just assume this is always a player if it comes into this handler. And then we can just say, well, if the damage time is still running, well, obviously the player has been hurt recently, so we should just ignore it. Otherwise, they haven't been hurt recently, so we can just hit them with the laser and start that timer. And then when the timer ends, we should check if there's still a collision, if the player is still colliding even after we've waited, then we're going to hit them again and we're going to start the timer again. And so that should allow the player to be hit periodically using this timer system. Okay, sweet. The next thing we need to do is we just need to run into the player code. Oh, I think we forgot to do that sound effect. Okay. So first of all, we need to hook up our laser here, and we're just going to call this a fire laser, and that is going to look resoundingly similar to this function. So we're going to copy paste it and call this fire laser, and that is going to require us to instance our laser scene and initialize it with our self and a strength. And we need to do our audio in a bit, but for now this should function. And then it's going to complain because we don't actually have a laser scene to instance, so we need to load that from our file system. So the laser is equal to the preloaded resource living at weapons laser laser.tscn for text scene. All right, so that should kind of start working. Let's just bring our hit types in here and create a laser hit type. And here in our hit function, we're going to have hit type laser, and I think we're just going to remove stars with a random effect. I can't see. Yep, okay. I think that should work. So if everything goes well, we already added the ability to pick up lasers yesterday when we did the other weapons, so we don't need to do the icons and that sort of thing. But the laser shooting itself, if all has gone well, I think that should just work. Obviously it won't because it's programming, but let's zoom around the map a little bit. And whoop. I need to make my controls different from the... Oh, I picked up a laser first time. Look at that. I've also got the L key hooked up to be my cheat code for give me a laser.
Phase 2. Fight.
Okay, so let's power this up at full, and alright, we got an error. So we tried to set the region to a float value when really it needs to be an integer, so I'm just going to wrap that in our integer function. And oh look, that has created our laser already. One thing I think we need to do is perhaps move the laser down a little bit. Don't know. Because it's firing over the top of the player, which is kind of weird. Alternatively, we could just move it out of the player and fire it from the tip. Oh god, I need to change that. It's driving me crazy. It's because I use control for player 2 and the arrow keys for player 1. And so when I do control left and right, I switch spaces in Mac OS, which is quite annoying.
Phase 2. Fight.
Okay, so let's zoom into the middle of this map a little bit, and let's load up our laser. Maybe just get rid of our pea shooter. Okay, laser. Invalid set index H on base with those tokens. Is that supposed to be height? Dot region rect dot region rect dot end dot y, right? Oops.
Phase 1. Collect stars and weapons.
So let's collect some stars. Zoom into here. Okay, let's load up a laser with the L button. And I've got a cheat code to enter phase 2 immediately. Let's do that, and let's fire our laser beam. Okay,